Hello and welcome. Today we are diving into a book that basically throws all the usual parenting hacks right out the window. We're talking about The Book You Wish Your Parents Had Read by the psychotherapist Philippa Perry. Now, this isn't about quick fixes. It's about completely reframing how we think about the parent-child dynamic. And it all boils down to one thing, the relationship. So let me ask you a question. What's the hardest job in the world? You know, the one with zero training, no paid time off, and the stakes are, well, they're the future of another human being. Yeah, you guessed it, we're talking about parenting. And if you've ever felt completely and totally overwhelmed by it, trust me, you are in very good company. Think about it. When you walk into a bookstore, the parenting section is just this sea of how-to guides and tricks for everything from sleep training to discipline. The hidden message in almost all of them is that the child is some kind of project to be managed or a problem that needs to be fixed. But this book, it takes a totally different and, honestly, a pretty radical approach. It suggests that being a good parent isn't about mastering a bunch of techniques. No. Instead, it's all about the quality of the relationship you build. And that relationship, well, it starts with you. And this, right here, is the genius of Philippa Perry's work. She doesn't begin with the child's tantrum or their messy room. Nope. The very first step, as we're about to see, starts with the parent. It starts with your own history. Perry introduces this really powerful idea she calls ghosts in the nursery. So what are they? Well, they're the echoes of our own upbringing. They're these unconscious patterns and automatic reactions that we inherited from our parents, and they just show up when we're with our own kids. We have all been there, right? You open your mouth to say something to your kid, and suddenly your mom's or your dad's exact words come flying out. It's almost spooky. Well, according to Perry, that is no accident. We're not actually reacting to the child standing right in front of us. A lot of the time, we're reacting to one of those ghosts from our own past. And this brings us to the core message of this first part. The path to becoming a better parent isn't about controlling your child's behavior. It's about becoming aware of your own triggers. Once you understand why certain things push your buttons, you can finally break the cycle and stop passing down that same old pain. Okay, so once we start to understand our own history, the very next step is to completely change how we handle our kids' feelings. This leads us to the second huge idea in this book, making space for all emotions, not just the easy ones. Just look at the difference here. It seems small, but it is profound. On the left, that's our typical instinct, right? To kind of dismiss it. You're fine, don't cry. But Perry argues for the approach on the right, which is all about validating the feeling. Ouch, that hurt. You're feeling sad. See the difference? This is a concept called containment. Your role as a parent isn't to be a firefighter for their feelings, to rush in and put out the sadness or the anger. Your job is to simply provide a safe space for that feeling to exist. By just witnessing it, without judgment, you're teaching your child that their entire emotional world is valid and, most importantly, that it's manageable. And this quote just nails the whole idea. We need to accept all feelings, but not all behaviors. It is absolutely okay to feel furious. What's not okay is hitting your sister because of it. When you separate the emotion from the action, you can validate one without condoning the other. And that is the foundation for raising emotionally intelligent human beings. All right, now for what might be the most relieving part of the whole book for any parent out there who is just living with guilt. Perry totally reframes our mistakes, not as failures, but as opportunities, through this amazing concept she calls rupture and repair. The process is actually pretty simple. The rupture, that's inevitable. You're human. You're gonna mess up. You'll lose your temper. You'll be unfair. The magic isn't in trying to avoid the rupture. It's in what you do next. It's in the repair. It's about going back to your child, apologizing, and taking responsibility. And just think about what this teaches your kid. It shows them that nobody is perfect, not even their parents. It shows them that relationships are resilient, that they can handle conflict and come out the other side. Honestly, a relationship that has rupture and repair is so much stronger than one that just pretends conflict doesn't exist. So if we're not supposed to just punish bad behavior, what's the alternative? Well, Perry asks us to see it in a whole new light, not as defiance, but as a form of communication. This means we kind of have to become translators for our kids. A child throwing a tantrum doesn't have the words to say, "I'm feeling overwhelmed and I need your help." A child who lies isn't always having a moral failure. A lot of the time, it's a signal that they're just afraid of how we'll react to the truth. So the real takeaway here is this massive shift in our role. We need to stop being behavior firefighters and start being emotional detectives. Instead of asking, how do I make this stop? We need to get curious and ask, what is this behavior trying to tell me? That way we solve the real problem, not just silence the alarm bell. And this brings us to the final, really big, overarching theme of the whole book. Parenting isn't a series of short-term tasks. It's a long-term relationship. Think about it like this. Sure, you can use fear or maybe a bit of shame to get your kid to put their coat on right now. That's a short-term win, for sure. But what's the long-term cost? Every single time you do that, you're making a tiny withdrawal from the bank account of your relationship. You're chipping away at trust. We have to remember, we're not just raising children, we are raising future adults. The goal isn't just to get through today's grocery store trip without a meltdown. The real goal is to build a foundation of respect and connection that's going to last a lifetime. Ultimately, what makes this book such a masterpiece is its compassion. It feels like a huge weight being lifted off your shoulders. It reminds all of us that our kids don't need us to be perfect. They just need us to be honest, to be present, and to be willing to fix things when they break. They need a real human parent. And so we're left with this one question, and it's a really powerful thought to carry with you into every single interaction. Are you parenting for today's compliance, or are you parenting for tomorrow's relationship? Thanks so much for joining me today.